How's it going, everybody? Kevin here once again, and with the NA Super for HCS upon us, guys, I wanted to take a deep dive into this tournament here because this can be a very different tournament than we've had previously. And I also brought in my friends of Tony, aka YNOT Be Reckless, one of the casters for HCS, and DeviousGruntAlliance on to talk about a little bit more detail about what to look out for this event. Now, we did have to record these in different sessions, so I'll be coming back and forth in this video to kind of give more context to what we're talking about within this video. Within these discussions, we talk about the pool play, what to expect out of these teams, what rosters to look out for. This is a longer video, but we only talk about HCS when big events are happening, so there's a lot to cover. Think of this video as a bit like a podcast to get some expert analysis of what to expect for this upcoming NA Super. I have timestamps in this video as well, so you can kind of hop around and listen to the sections that you want to listen to, but it's best to listen throughout the whole video to understand all the details.
Yeah, what's up, guys? YNOT Be Reckless, aka YNOT Be Casting. I'm one of the HCS commentators. I also do full-time content creation. You can find me on Twitch, YouTube, and I run 2 podcasts once a week with both of them. And anything that's Halo related, I love, and I'm getting involved.
And my poor hosting skills, I forgot to ask DeviousGrunt his whole thing, but his thing is that he chops up really great highlight reels on HCS events. He's actually worked with Halo at these HCS events as well to create a lot of highlights. A lot of the highlight reels you see in between matches, well, that's him clipping things out for the editors to throw together. So he definitely has been involved with the HCS community for sure. So the first question I ask these guys is, why get excited about this event? It's just another online thing, right? But it's way more than just that.
Right, so this event is pretty huge for points. This is like the big event, especially after all the crazy roster changes we've had. This is the event where everyone's going to be testing to see which team is going to look on top going into that HCS Orlando major. And that major is really important because that basically determines the top 12 teams going to Worlds. So this is a big event right now.
Since Kansas City, which was a major event bringing everybody around the world, we've had multiple regionals, including one in Valencia, which was obviously a regional towards Europe. We've even had a regional in Mexico City, but that was locked in only for the Latin American region. And now this is the regional for North America as well. $125,000 on the line. It's actually going to be an online event as opposed to on land. So you're going to see a lot of teams coming in and trying to compete. We've had open events, we've had pro league events or pro series events, but we haven't seen all of the best of the best. We haven't seen the Sentinels, United, Cloud9s, Phases, Optics, and all of them competing in the same tournament together. But looks like now we are, and it's gonna be for a whole lot of money. I'm actually hearing that teams are traveling, over to like Texas and different places so they can compete side by side and have that kind of screen peek in a little bit.
So now that we know what's on the line, we need to know what to look out for. What teams do we think are gonna upset? What teams do we think are gonna dominate? So let's go pool by pool on this one. By the time we did the recordings, the open bracket teams were not added in, but we recently just had those teams added in. So first, let's look at Pool A. We have Sentinels, United, Complexity, and Crowd Pleasers. So what did Tony and DeviousGrunt have to say about this?
When you look at Sentinels, obviously they won last event. They looked stellar. They absolutely kicked the crap out of Cloud9. Didn't even look close. But that is a Sentinels where they are next to each other. They have each monitors to look at, and they're just zoned in. They're clicked in. This Sentinels, they still have the expectation of getting first, and they're very capable of doing that. But I question if they're going to be as strong as a team as they would be on land.
Pool A having one of the 2 teams that haven't changed to the top 16 being Sentinels, everybody having them the favorites coming out of Kansas City. They had a little bit of an up and down, being taken to game 5 by both Knights and Quadrant. But towards the end of that tournament, they really started to catch fire.
And when I see United, they're a really cool new team too. They replaced, Spartan and King Nick for Suspector and Manny, which are really cool, aggressive new slayers in that team. So I'm really excited to see how that pans out.
A lot of people are underestimating this pool. United, for example, having a similar blueprint to their old roster, not having Spartan or King Nick anymore, which is tough because Spartan is arguably a top 5 player that we have in our game. And then you have King Nick, who's a very dynamic player, but replacing King Nick is Manny. And Manny's pretty dynamic of his own. He can pop off at any given moment. And then you have the likes of Suspector, who he may not be a top 5 player in the game like Spartan is, but I will say that he's top 5 underrated slayer that we have in the game. He plays fast, he stays alive, and he stuffed the stat sheet. So this blueprint, this formula of this United roster reminds me of their old, and to remind you guys, they have a second, third, and a fourth place finish in the only 3 major North American lands so far. So clearly they're doing something right with this formula. Watch out for Complexity too. They're dangerous. Complexity are deadly. They had a nice little rise after Anaheim. They fell a little bit when Triton left, but they've seemingly have a half Complexity, now half Luminosity roster they're going with now, and they play fast and they play in your face. They're really tough to deal with.
For Pool B, we have Cloud9, Faze Clan, Oxygen Esports, and Need and Org. Between Faze and Cloud9, this is going to be a grudge match as Renegade left Cloud9 to go to Faze, as well as Spartan joined the team with Snipedown and Falcon. This is an all-star roster, and this is what Tony and DeviousGrunt had to say about it.
Right, so for anyone who might be unfamiliar, Cloud9 is no longer the Cloud9 you know. Renegade got this idea, kind of like within the last 2 months, to jump ship for unknown reasons. I suspect he just really didn't have faith in the team anymore, as crazy as that sounds. And he actually tried to go to Sentinels, but Sentinels and Cloud9 couldn't come to an agreement. So he ended up in Faze, and Faze kind of redid their whole roster, and they look stellar. Faze is a team that is essentially made up of a bunch of Slayers, and it's very interesting because you don't really have that kind of like makeup in terms of teams for Halo. Usually you have like different roles. You don't have like a bunch of main Slayers on one team. You would think that wouldn't work, but for this team, I think it's potential to set an example of how it can work.
I think this is going to be interesting. We're watching Renegade going to go up against Stellar, who we kind of hearing there might have been a little bit of a beef there. That's what the rumors is saying. Obviously, Renegade leaving Cloud9 to come over to his Faze roster, and Bound replacing him on that C9 roster, which, by the way, won back-to-back tournaments in the early season and were the favorites going in to Kansas City as well. As far as who I have as the favorites, give me Cloud9. And I love this Faze roster. I've nicknamed them the God Squad back at, I believe, June 1st. I was talking about this squad when nobody else was, and people thought I was crazy. I'm like, no, it's gonna happen. Watch out. I say it all the time. The only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. And Faze Clan have not hit the ground running. They've had a decent amount of wins, but when going up against the top echelon of teams, including Cloud9's, the Sentinels, and the Optics in scrims, they've been struggling a bit.
The question is if they can put that teamwork together, because even though Cloud9 lost Renegade, they gained Bound, who Bound is essentially a very similar player. I think Bound is a player who has even higher highs than Renegade, but when it comes to like split-second decision-making, he's maybe not quite there yet. But I think this Cloud9 roster can mold him.
Bound is fitting in like a glove over towards Cloud9. I'm loving the way that they're playing. So I would say in this tournament, give me Cloud9, but in the future, watch out for Faze Clan. I even invested in their stock.
So even though Faze might have the firepower, Cloud9 has the long-standing teamwork, and that's what might give them the edge with this event here. It might even be the favorites to win the whole thing. Next, we go into Pool C, which has Optic Gaming, G1, Fnatic, and Forbidden Fruit. Now, when you first look at this, you're probably thinking Optic Gaming is going to dominate, which could be the case, but don't downplay G1. They have been grinding.
When I was talking about G1, everybody thought I was crazy. When I was talking about G1, I'm like, man, y'all just ain't looking right. I don't know. Look at the stats. Look at the eyeball test. It's real. G1, they were already finding success before bringing Bubudubu, and I think they finished third place during one of the opens after Kansas City, and they were already starting to, kind of catch fire a little bit. The moment they added Bubudubu, the moment they started grinding, it just clicked, and it seems natural. G1 are a phenomenal roster. They've been going toe-to-toe with Optic, Cloud9s, and Sentinels in scrims. Not only going toe-to-toe with them, but actually beating these rosters in scrims, which, again, I'm going to say scrims aren't everything, but it's what we have right now. I think they won out a tournament literally just yesterday, a little $1,000 tournament here, but that also featured Faze. That also featured Pioneers. I was casted yesterday, and they looked just as good as they did before. Devonator is a stud who's flying under the radar. Bubudubu and Swish really remind me of each other. You're talking about high IQ players that are willing to grind. And I didn't know much about Squale, but yesterday, Squale was absolutely incredible. But then when we're looking at the stats, he was consistently outslaying for his team in the Slayers and even in the objectives. I think he was playing absolutely lights out yesterday, and he's going to be the X factor. When Squale is going off, this team is winning.
They've been putting in work, man. I think there's a lot of questions going into this if they can stand with the top 4 to 5 teams, because that's how it's been throughout the entirety of Halo Infinite. You've had the United and above teams that have always been just, chilling at the top. And my question is this new G1 roster capable of breaking into that cusp? And on paper, they can. They have been. They've been performing very well in these open tournaments. But these top teams haven't been competing in them. So it's really going to be a question mark. And I think facing against Optic as the first match is a horrible kind of debut to go into it. I think Optic should take this very easily, to be honest. No offense to G1. But I do think, depending on how the bracket plays out, G1 can very definitely snag potentially a top 4. It really depends on the bracket and how things play out.
Lastly, in Pool D, you probably have the most balanced mix of players in one single pool. This is going to be the most competitive out of all 4. With Pioneers, G2, Lions, formerly known as Anime Demons, and Space Station Gaming, there are going to be some very tight matches within this pool. Lions actually beat out Space Station Gaming for the pool placement, and then Space Station Gaming had to come back in through the open bracket. And it's all but confirmed that Barcode will be joining G2, as he recently flew to the US and has been seen scrimming with the G2 roster. DeviousGrunt and Tony had a lot to say about this pool.
Yeah, I mean, this has my favorite matchup in it, Pioneers versus G2. You have the ultra aggression coming out of Pioneers, recently bringing in King Nick from E United, who's been able to match that play style that Pioneers are known to play. And on top of that, they lean on him as far as to bring that veteranship and that leadership. Just Pioneers have the ultimate offense, and they're always keeping you on your back foot, where G2 are the ultimate defensive squad. They simply play the game the right way. It's not flashy, but it's fundamental, and it's very hard to beat. When they get into their setups, good luck breaking through, because they lock down the map. They're watching every corner. You can't find a hole in their setup because they don't leave one. And that comes from Yoki, Sabinator, and Straight Sick. And now you're bringing in Barcode, who is a super talented individual, and North America may not be aware of it just yet, but you're gonna find out quick, because he was the #1 player in ANZ, and to be honest with you, I don't think it was even close. Barcode has the skill and also has the attitude. Like, he's ready to work, he's ready to grind, he's ready to fit the mold and to find success on his G2 roster.
You have this incredible talent from Australia who, let's face it, he's like the renegade of Australia. Who knows what the hell he can do over in North America? He could be that player too, who could really shake things up. This is like quintessentially taking your top talent and mixing it in with the top NA talent. And it's so exciting. I'm really interested to see how this G2 roster performs.
And then you have Alliance, who were going by Anime Demons. Burton, who has been around for quite a bit, more recently been seen with Status Quo at one point. Parzelli, a former Call of Duty player who was teaming alongside Alex Shaw on that Red Wolves roster. They actually reverse swept Oxford Esports in Kansas City to make it into pool play. Oxford Esports got majorly upset. You have Mortally. I've played at 8 lobbies as well. I'm a competitor, and I've gotten the chance to play with Mortally a few times. And not only does it go toe to toe with the likes of, for example, Sparty, it was me and Mortally going against Spartan and some other guys. And let me tell you, not only was Mortally going toe to toe with him, but also being the clear IGL. When he's out here putting in the work like that, I mean, I'm a fan. So watch out for Mortally. And Hotshot goes to, I knew he was good based on the stats, but more recently I've had the opportunity to cast over his gameplay and to really watch him. And I've used the term, he has the mind of a veteran in the heart of a top amateur. Like, and it's a good combination. Hotshot Ghost is one of those future stars. When I talk about underrated players and the young stars, I talk about the Swishes, the Devinators, Savs, Suspectors. I say watch out for them, because they're so talented. And there's another list. I'll probably come out with a video about a whole list of them. Hotshot Ghost is going to be on there soon. Everybody's going to have him as a household name.
Pioneers, honestly, they have that seed, but I don't think they have been looking as good as they had been wanting to look ever since they made their switches. But maybe they needed that shake up to have that more potential to break past the top 6. So they've been getting top 6 every single event. I'm still gonna take Pioneers as first, just because G2 is so new, but I do think G2 has the potential to rise past them. I want to see how Barcode really gets into this groove on this new team here. I think it's still too early.
While Space Station Gaming was the #1 seed from the open bracket to make it into Pool D, they certainly do have the raw talent to really make waves within HCS, but they haven't really seen that success that is really expected out of a roster that they have. And also, they've been seeing quite a bit of drama, and Tony gives us all the details about it.
It's no secret that in the past they've had issue with in the locker room, and it seems like that's carrying over. They ended up dropping Rami, who was best friends with Collect, a young superstar, and I'm talking superstar. And when the time his career is done, he's gonna be mentioned with the greats. Watch out. I take it as a hot take now, but I promise you guys, when you see what I've been seeing, you're gonna be like, damn, Uncle Tony was right. Uncle Tony warned us about this, man. Collect's a real deal. But back then they ended up dropping Rami, didn't consult with him. And he kind of took that personally. Then I believe they've had some talks and stuff, and this, that, and the third. And then eventually he goes live on Twitch, and we go to his chat. We're like, dude, your team's scrimming right now. Are you going with this? Like, we're not scrimming. We have no scrim set up. And I'm like, what the hell? This is a little while ago, and he doesn't even know about it. They're scrimming with Boo Boo Doo in place of him. He doesn't even know. He goes live on Twitch. Man has no clue. I'm gonna assume since then, I'm gonna hope that they've been able to get over the hurdles, and they've been able to say, look, because this is the truth. They're too talented not to find success. They really are. These guys are the real deal. You know, Collect and Suppressed, young stars. Suppressed is nasty. Watch his shot. Man barely moves his reticle. His shot is smooth. Reminds me of like a formal. Any team gets upset, it's Fnatic. I think Fnatic have been struggling to figure things out. I didn't think it would be SSG. I thought they would steamroll and just play bully ball. And I expect them to actually go in, and that same anger that you're feeling, you need to convert that. You need to turn that into motivation and use it. Take it out on your enemy.
If you've made it this far into the video, guys, you watching right now, you're the real MVP. Thank you so much for the continued support on the channel. If you've listened this far, you definitely have enjoyed the video, right? So leaving a like would be greatly appreciated, and it greatly helps support the video and channel. So now you know the teams, you know the players. So now it comes down to the ultimate question: who do you think is going to win? And well, Tony and DeviousGruntAlliance provide their answers.
If Optic does not win this event, I am very concerned. I think going into this event, they should be the favorites on paper by far. They've been dominating everything in scrims, even when teams against like Cloud9, Sentinels, Faze. I haven't kept up with too many of the scrims, but every scrim that I have kept on with, they have been on top of everything. And when it comes to online competition, I don't want to pin them as an online team, but you know what I mean. Optic always performs well. They always perform to expectation, and looking at this event, I think they've been practicing the most. They've been streaming every single day. They are the team that should win this event pretty handedly, to be honest. I think teams that will give them a real run for the money would be Sentinels and Cloud9. Faze potentially, but I do think it's a little bit early for them. But going into this event, I do expect and I do predict Optic to get first place.
I think Sentinels have done enough to earn the #1 seed going in and earn the favorites. So, you know, give me Sentinels, but man, Optic, I think Optic are hungry, and they won that $50,000 online, which eventually turned to $75,000. They won that online event that was hosted by Faze. You know, they obviously feel very comfortable with playing within their own homes, and I'm not gonna be disrespectful and call them an online team. I'm gonna say they haven't found success on LAN yet. You know, I would say give me Sentinels, but my heart is telling me, man, give me Optic. Optic are one of the only big three that haven't gotten a win yet. So, you know, it's, you know, their time's coming kind of thing. So my heart wants to go with Optic.
Links to DeviousGrunt and Tony's channels will be in the pinned comment down below. Now, with every event, there is always a Twitch drop, which if you want to know what that drop is, check out this video right here that I made yesterday talking all about it. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.